Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, and I got a review for you today. From Marvel Comics, we're going to be talking about Hellcat issue number 1. It is written by Christopher Cantwell, art by Alex Lenz, colors by Kj Diaz, and letters by VC's Ariana Maher. And this dope cover is done by Peach Momoko. Before we get started on the review, please like, comment, subscribe on this channel. It does cost you nothing except for the time to click the like, that's it. I'm on YouTube for the interaction, so let's talk about this comic. Let me know. Alright, so based on, and shout out to Pocan Joe reviews, I went ahead and picked up this book. I had been looking on it, but I was kind of on the fence. After seeing his review and hearing about the book, I ran out and picked it up. It was on a week that I was late, so it was kind of simple. I just had to go to the shop and add it to my list. But still, I wasn't going to grab it. But I'm kind of glad that I did. I really enjoyed this first issue of Hellcat. I'm vaguely familiar with Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat. She was featured, if I'm not mistaken, on Jessica Jones, the Netflix series. She was the blonde best friend. She was the rich socialite. She was pretty badass, and eventually they were building her up to Hellcat. I can't remember if they actually went that way or I don't remember. But here we are. Okay, so that's about all I know about Hellcat. Now, it does mention here in the top corner of the very first page, which I adore. Not only is a badass piece of art, which I'm covering up right here, but we get the splash page with all the writers and letters. I love when they put that up front. But we do. It says Patsy Walker, former teen celebrity turned superhero with supernatural psychic powers. During her storied life, she's been an Avenger, private investigator, and was married to the son of Satan. Died, went to hell, and was resurrected. Having relocated to the West Coast, Patsy is determined to escape the ghosts of her past and claw out a new future as Hellcat. She's not there. The book starts off, and it plays a major part of this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, good persona versus bad persona. And she's super conflicted. It's one of the reasons I'm happy I got this cover, because it actually pertains to the story. But there is this, ever since she went back to hell, she's been having these weird, kind of Hellcat outbreaks, as you can see here. She can't really explain it, but that's what this book is going to talk about, I'm assuming. The book jumps back to a flashback when she was 6 or something like that, and her real dad walked out and left on her. One of her bad situations, and that's kind of what the book does in the beginning. It gives you bad situations, good situations. Most of the situations that she points out are pretty much bad, except for one, and we'll get there. The book jumps to current times, and we find out that Hellcat is in the back of a cop car, and she's being accused of murder, and murdering who? Her boyfriend, which happens to be one of her good moments, was hooking up with this dude. His name is Spalding Grantham. And now, as you can see right here, he was gruesomely murdered, but she is being accused and the number one suspect of murdering this guy. After she's giving her, Miranda rights and asked kind of basic questions by the police, we do get, different cuts and takes from Hellcat's life, and she's obviously stating that there are moments when she can't remember and she kind of fades in and out, but she does not remember killing her boyfriend. But we do get these moments where they do show her fighting him, like right here. But as far as she states, she didn't kill him, kind of thing, or at least she doesn't remember doing so. If she does, she believes she needs help, kind of thing. We do jump back to the past for that good moment when she was able to meet, this guy, Spalding Grantham, and we kind of get an introduction of her best friend that I was not familiar with, but her name is Heidi Wolf. It's the dark-haired girl that kind of shows up every now and then. Evidently, Heidi and this guy, Spalding, they had dated before Patsy and him get together. But we find out a little bit more about Heidi and Patsy's relationship in a little bit. The book does go back to current times, and she is being investigated by a couple different officers, mainly this officer for a moment, until he's kind of put down by Hellcat, And the real officer that was in the background, she starts, giving the real investigation, asking the hard questions. But basically, they're still on the belief that she killed, this guy Spaulding. We do get some like moments because supposedly her life was in a comic book. I'm not, aware of this, but supposedly in the Marvel universe, her life was actually made into a comic book by her mom because she was that famous or something like that. So we do get little like snippets from the actual comic, and this just happens to be based on her real life stuff when her and Heidi were going against each other for class president, and then they end up both winning the class president, both serving as president for that year instead of one. We jump over to another scene, and it's kind of around the time when they're in like it's that same year in high school. Basically, we find out that Patsy's a little more, smart, or like more suited for school, I should say. It's not like a level of intelligence, but basically like Heidi's coming to Patsy to buy like a fake paper so she can pass this exam. At this point, I don't think they're like the best of friends because like we find out Patsy is kind of, overpricing what she's going to charge for Heidi, and we find out that she's willing to pay lower prices for random regular people. So Heidi evidently did something. The book jumps back over to modern times, and we do see that she was let go from the police station, and she heads home, and we see this like a major bit of Patsy Walker and kind of her life, and we see that she is tormented by the ghost of her mom. She kind of states that her mom being there doesn't bother her or scare her or anything, but she is constantly berated by her mom, while she's in the house, supposedly. I think it's just in the house. After she walks in, she is sucker punched, bam, by Heidi, who is waiting for Patsy to get home. After hearing the news that supposedly the Hellcat had killed Spaulding Grantham, Heidi is pretty pissed, saying, "Oh, you stole him back in the day. You always, hate and, envied the relationship that we had. I knew you would do something like this," and, and that's kind of where she jumps off. Heidi ends up leaving before Patsy can even defend herself, and at this point, Patsy does kind of a anger release thing where she heads out to do her own investigation. As she's leaving, we do see this ominous scene of this kind of Easter bunny rabbit that's sitting in an alley. Originally it's right here, and then they show a close-up in the right here. I'm not sure if that's like a dummy cam, a actual creature, or a person that's watching her, but something's watching her, Before she does head out, we do find out that she does self-medicate. She does kind of down a bottle of something. I want to say it's whiskey, and then she chases it with some ibuprofen. She says she stays away from the heavy drugs, but she does need the ibuprofen for the pain. And then she hells out. Then she heads out in Hellcat fashion, which at first I knew that she did all the parkour and jumping around stuff. I did not know that she had like a kind of lasso thing that she whips from rooftop to rooftop, similar to Catwoman. But eventually she does go to the murder scene, and she does her own investigation. Once she gets there, and she has mentioned this at the very beginning of the book, but she does have psychic powers. For some reason, her psychic powers have been on the fritz ever since she got back from hell. But once she gets here, they do show the scene where she sees this light coming from the floorboards that evidently is magical. They show the scene, which I don't know what's going on. It kind of looks like her hand goes through like a magical barrier. But after doing so, she does pull this, and she calls it a badge. It looks like a shining star. But quickly we find out who it belongs to, and somebody that I know has a huge fan following in the Marvel community, but doesn't get talked about a lot. But she heads to a psychiatric hospital to go meet said individual, and we find out it is this guy Rick, which I'm not familiar with, but I am familiar with his alter ego, Sleepwalker. Rick currently is locked up in this psychiatric hospital, and he explains to Patsy that he is basically on trial by the other sleepwalkers. They do show, that the other sleepwalkers, I'll show you right here, that the Council of Sleepwalkers basically like has him on trial for a couple different things. But they do believe that he has murdered this Graham, or that he is a part of the murder of Spalding Grantham. And that's kind of why, Hellcat's there. There is conversation about, like, hey, I need Sleepwalker, this is badge, and he kind of mentions that he can't be Sleepwalker because of those different things. But the last thing that he does mention, the reason why he can't be Sleepwalker is because technically he's in love with Hellcat. We do get a we do get a brief background between Hellcat and Sleepwalker, and they used to be like a low-key tag team, superhero duo or whatever, or at least they've been on a lot of missions or something like that. And during that time, that's when Rick secretly fell in love with Hellcat, and it's one of the things that the Council is holding them up to. There is this little scene at the end with where Patsy is going back to the day her dad left, one of the most horrible moments of her life, as she is putting it, and that's where the book leaves us off. There is no, like preview or nothing to the next issue, but there is a like cover, it looks very much like the splash page, but that is the cover for the next issue. But that is the first issue from Hellcat. And honestly, I loved it. For a little bit, it was all over the place, but once you get going and figure out the main gist of the story, that is basically this murder mystery, that she is being, pegged as the main suspect, and she doesn't technically remember the fact that she just went to hell, and that's kind of messing with her or something like that. There is something else that she stated at the end about her psychic powers, that she had kind of wished they were working when she was dealing with Rick, so she could have known that he secretly was in love with her. But I mean, it is what it is. But that is my review of Hellcat issue number 1. I love the art. The art was fantastic. I really love the art. And as if I'm not mistaken, it is a brand new Stormbreaker artist, this Alex Lenz. I thought it was fantastic. Actually, every panel. But the actual story and everything, I'm on board with. I'm on board for, and it's added to my pull list. So I can't thank Pocan Joe enough for getting me to excited enough to go out and grab this book. But that's what I got for you. Let me know down below what y'all thought about this book. If you passed it up, did you read it? What'd you think? Let me know. Alright guys, I will let you go. I got more reviews coming.